As much as I hate to say it, I think the Clippers championship hopes have come to a halt or pretty much, a goner at this point. There's really nothing that the Clippers can do. Very unfortunate about Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi was playing so good. He had a good rhythm. It looked like he was going to do some good things, and he never got a chance to play a home game at home with this team, with the home crowd behind him, with the Clippers and the Clippers Nation, which I think would have drove the Clippers probably to win both games at home. But at least I definitely knew that they would have won one, I believe, with Kawhi Leonard at least, which means if they had to, they'd be going back to Phoenix tied 2-2 instead of being down 3-1, which would have made all the world difference. But regardless, so many things has went wrong in these last few days. I really can't even wrap my mind around it because we went from, Kawhi dominating, playing very well, split 1-1 out of a Phoenix series where the Clippers took the first game and they were going back home tied 2-2. Then all of a sudden, about few hours before the game, breaking news comes out that Kawhi is going to be out that game. And it's like, oh, man, he can't miss this game. Now the Suns are going to go up 2-1. And they did. And then it came out at the time he's going to miss the next game, which is game 4. So it's like, oh, man, it's like that's just the backbreaker to the whole thing. And, it really is a backbreaker in so many ways because you already had Paul George out and you didn't know whether he was going to return or not. It was a possibility he could return, but at the earliest, it would have been about maybe a game 7. But then they reported, of course, that he'd probably be out the whole first round. And then when that happened to Kawhi, it just really dispirited the team. You know what I'm saying? It's like they're fighting, they're doing as much as they can, but their defense can only hold up so long with that much firepower on the other team. And honestly, even with Kawhi, it still would have took about 7 games to beat them because Kawhi would have got tired anyway. Kawhi would have wore down somewhat anyway because he would have had to try to guard all those 3 guys, a little bit at a time throughout a 7-game span. It would have wore him down to maybe it would have wore his knee down anyway. How do we know that? You see what I'm saying? So, because a lot of pressure was going to be put on Kawhi because you don't know what you're getting out of Russell Westbrook scoring wise or defensive wise. He just surprised us a little bit with his defense that he played on KD and his, things like that. But of course we know he brings energy, but we don't know exactly how Russ is going to play from game to game. So it's like, it's kind of like a up in the air type situation with him. But regardless of that, I mean, say what you want, but it really, it just all went bad. And then, Kawhi Leonard's situation with his sister, I see reports where his sister got sentenced to life in prison. Like, man, you know what I'm saying? Like Kawhi Leonard's life literally changed within like a week of all this happening. And then you got people like Stephen A talking about Kawhi is the worst superstar ever and just trying to pile it on. And the man got real problems. You know what I'm saying? If your sister was locked up for life, I mean, he might not be that close to her, but that's still a sibling. That's still somebody you grew up with. And it's like, that would just hit you. Like, you're never going to be able to speak to that sibling again. Now, what she did was bad from what the reports say about, murder or something like that. But I mean, regardless, like, that's still his sibling. So that's still a big deal to him, at least. And you got stupid idiots like Stephen A saying stuff like that. And, it's really, a lot has just went wrong these last, several days. And now the Clippers are down 3-1. And, now they're in a situation where they're going back to Phoenix, where it's probably more likely going to end, not unless the Clippers put up a very good game plan and fight and get at least another game back to LA and never know what can happen, or something like that, and possibly go to a game 6 or 7, but I don't know if that's going to happen. But regardless, it's just a bad situation all the way around. Like I said, just a week ago, the Clippers looked like they might actually, knock this team off and be a first round upset and then take their momentum and drive it into the next round. And hopefully Paul George will come back. That's what it was looking like, the way Kawhi was playing and the way everybody was feeding off of Kawhi's energy because of how great of a player he is. Now, there was the report about, swelling in his knee and things like that. I read that report, and our sources say that has definitely some truth to it, and my sources even say there's even no pain in his knee from what they're hearing. There's no pain from what they're hearing and reading other sources and things like that. So if it's no pain in his knee or anything like that, it's just swelling. That reminds me of in the beginning of the season when he missed like 12 games or something like that due to like his knee sprain, like the swelling in his knee a little bit. And then when the swelling went down, that's when he was able to come back and return. But, my thing to this whole situation too, I know the Clippers are down 3-1 and it's a bad situation, but the Clippers never should have been in a situation to where they had to fight the way they did all the way to the end of the season. You know what I'm saying? Using Kawhi at those high minutes, playing 40-plus minutes, all those things. And the 40-plus minutes he played in the playoffs. I feel like, if Kawhi is coming off of ACL surgery and injury like that, you can't, wear him down at the end of the season just to make the playoffs. I mean, but I'm not saying they shouldn't have done that. But what I'm saying is it shouldn't have come down to that is what I'm trying to say. It shouldn't have come down to the fact that Kawhi Leonard, had to play every single game down the stretch, because the Clippers should have won a lot of those games earlier. But I mean, of course, we could talk coulda, woulda, shoulda, and all that stuff. But I still think the Clippers had a good enough team to win a lot of games that they kind of flopped and gave away. And, they put themselves in that position to have to fight all the way to the end of the season, just to get into the playoffs and have a secure, position. It shouldn't even have came down to that if they took care of business the way they were supposed to prior to then. So, I mean, like I said, we could look at it in a lot of ways. We could look at it in a whole lot of ways, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, it doesn't matter. Like, this is the reason why you got to stay as healthy as you can. You got to, put yourself in the best position as possible and be the best team you could be, so you don't have to, kill yourself down the stretch of the season trying to get into the playoffs. And, you're also adding somebody like Russell Westbrook to the team, where the whole dynamic of the team changes, and you're trying to make all these adjustments on the fly while you're wearing your guys down so much, just trying to get to the playoffs, when, you can make it easy for yourself and try to, just beat the teams you're supposed to beat because you have the better team. But like I said, the Clippers put themselves in that position. There's nothing we can do about that now, but it's just, you wonder, I know the Clippers can't help injuries, things like that, but they got to try to find a way, and because there's no excuses at the end of the day. You got to win a championship, and this is another bust season for the Clippers. It's another situation that's a letdown, and this Kawhi, PG thing is really, really a concerning situation right now, because it's been the last couple years, there's been injury or something like that with one of those two big stars, and no championships has come out of it, and that falls on Kawhi, that falls on PG, regardless of injuries or not. People are still going to blame you. People are still going to say, oh, well, he wasn't healthy enough to do it. He wasn't great enough to overcome everything. He failed to he just couldn't do it. You know what I'm saying? There's always going to be naysayers and things like that. But, you can kill the naysayers talk by going out winning, and the Clippers didn't do it. They had the bubble bust type situation against Denver. Then the injury came to Kawhi Leonard with the ACL against Utah a few years ago. And then last year, Paul George caught COVID before a big playing tournament game. Now Paul George is out at the beginning of the playoffs, and Kawhi Leonard went out right after him. Seem like, you see what I'm saying? So it's like, it's always something, man. And like I said, I know Clippers Nation don't want to hear no excuses, because I don't either, but you got to try to find a way to win. And I don't know how it's going to go now, with the Clippers, now that they, probably not going to win this series. But of course, we'll hear more reports about Kawhi going forward, and then we'll be able to make and determine an analysis about, the direction of the team.